All right. And we are live. Welcome back, everybody. We are doing a live stream for this week's Strictly NFL. Of course, back with Jeff. We got Schwinn on. And mostly, pretty much majority, all of it is going to be a betting talk for tomorrow. So I was looking at some of the games beforehand with Jeff, and we were like, damn, this shit is kind of stinky. But there's close lines, and you got, pretty much everybody past their bye week. So there's going to be everybody besides the Cardinals and forgot the other team. Only 2 teams on bye this week. So a lot of action. Let the boys talk for a little, whatever you guys want to say.
Yeah,
it would be nice if the Bills won, considering the Knicks lost yesterday. So it'd be nice.
Oh, and United lost.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bummer that I was looking at the playoff races this afternoon. A lot of teams are still kind of live. I feel like the wild card races are far more interesting than the division races. The only division race that I think is super interesting is obviously the Eagles versus Cowboys, and that game is Sunday night. But I feel like they're, I sent Khan a text this week as kind of a joke, like all 3 6-6 teams right now in the NFC are betting underdogs this week, I think. And then the Giants are pretty big dogs at home against the Packers. I was actually surprised at that line. It's like 7.5 at home.
Feels like an overreaction line.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of respect to the Packers.
6.5 now on FanDuel, by the way.
Okay. But I mean, all 3 other teams besides the Packers, who are 6-6 in the NFC, are betting road underdogs. And then, the Giants get the 4th 6-6 team at home. The Giants just somehow find a way to beat the Packers. They're 1 game out of that playoff spot, which is
I think the Giants are like, I'm not lying, like that defense is playing well. They're just so weird because their defense either like completely shits the bed or looks like, the fucking 99 Ravens or something, where you're just like, wait, are they the greatest defense of all time now? Is this what's happening? I think, is Lawrence playing, Dexter?
He's a toss up right now, I think.
Yeah. I think if he plays, obviously, like I don't know. To me, like, I know that's a fucking touchdown game, basically, they're saying. Right now, it's either, Jeff said it opened at 7.5 on FanDuel, right now it's 6.5. I think if you're going to take that, you just take the money line. Like, I would money line the Giants. So if I was going to take that, I wouldn't do the points. Yeah. I think that's a money line. The one I like, or the game I'm really most interested in, aside from the Bills, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But I really am into this this Raiders-Chargers game. Like, I like how the Raiders have been playing. And I also, I like home dogs. I'm about home dogs. They're getting
Schwinn, you mean Raiders Vikings?
Oh, sorry. No. Sorry. I was looking at the hit ahead line.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I do like that, by the way. Definitely take that. Raiders Vikings though. Yes. I'm not sure why the Vikings are 3-point favorites here. Like what's the reasoning for that? I don't know.
The Raiders just haven't been good. Like, I think they've been a little bit better since McDaniels was replaced by Pierce. But they beat the Giants at home, they beat the Jets at home, and then they played the Chiefs and Dolphins pretty close. The Dolphins closer. They were up early against the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs just kind of ran away with it. The one thing I like about it is you have the Raiders coming off a bye.
They were competitive against Miami too, right?
Yeah, they were. They had the ball down 7 and couldn't. But Minnesota's coming off a bye as well, so I guess that's not much of an edge. I see where you're coming from. I honestly think it's just doubt in the quarterback situation. That's probably just a lot of it. They don't think the Raiders are going to score a lot. Dobbs has been playing well. Jefferson's back. That matters.
I think Vegas might be like undercorrecting to the bad Dobbs game. Because, Josh Dobbs was good to start the season, but he's been a career backup for a reason. And then at home against Chicago, he gets just exposed. Now playing against the Raiders in Las Vegas, like I don't love them being favorites here. Like I think this is like if you want to make the Vikings the favorite, maybe like it's like Vikings -1. -3 feels like a pretty good bit in my opinion.
Wait, sorry, say it again.
If I was to be setting a line here, I'd make it Vikings -1 instead of like -3. Like I think they're way too big of a favorite at 3 points. They're pretty even in my opinion. Like Jefferson's back, first game from a hamstring though, and he hasn't played with Dobbs before, so it's going to affect the pecking order over there. Whereas the Raiders, you know, like they've been playing good, like we said, and the defense is playing better. Devontae is getting his targets back now. It's another week with Aiden O'Connell. So, I don't know. I think this is like a legitimate toss-up game, 50-50 shot.
Sure. Are we going to make up a parlay? Are we doing that on here?
Are we doing that? Oh, strictly NFL parlay.
But yeah. So, like, okay, the Vikings, they lost. I'm like, my brain is so fried from this past week of like Knicks basketball for some reason. But like the Vikings lost to the Bears, right? That's correct?
Yeah.
That was the last game. Was that Monday night or was that Thursday? That was Monday, right?
I believe that was Monday.
Yeah. So that felt like just like a weird game. Also, the Bears defense has actually been playing better over the last few weeks. So like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's actually a good loss, but like, I think there's a couple, like, it feels like they are, I don't know. I just look at this and it's a weird game. Vegas, that stadium in general, like to me, it feels like one of those stadiums that teams get up to play in. It's awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like it's pretty awesome stadium.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I don't know. I hate betting on both these teams. By the way, the Vikings and Raiders are like two teams I usually try to stay away from.
Yes.
The Raiders especially just never make any sense, and the Vikings only play games that draw. I by the way, if there are any Vikings fans for whatever reason listening to this, shout out to you for surviving
Listening to this. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean the Vikings just like, dude, they play only insane games all the time. But yeah, I don't know. I think I tend to agree with you. Like, I don't really like the spread here. You know, that Bears game is weird. I don't know what to take from that. But I do agree with your larger point. It's like, hey, look, Dobbs has been a nice story, but you know, we kind of saw the best possible version of him this season so far. It's possible that, like, you know, he has a downturn. I mean, this happens all the time with like dudes, right? How many times did this happen with Ryan Fitzpatrick? Where it's like, oh, like he's figured it out. He's totally leading this team. And then it's like, oh no, he's still Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to throw like 6 interceptions next week.
He has Brendan Marshall now. He's going to get to the playoffs. And then Schwinn evil laughs as what's his face gets intercepted. After you brought up that Bears line, I looked at the Bears game last week with the Vikings. I was looking at their game this week. They're +3 at home against the Lions. And
Lions been not playing well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't. This is why Vegas is Vegas, right? Like, +3 for the Bears or -3 for the Lions. I hate everything about this game. Like, I would never bet this game. Not. There's not a single prop, spread, over under you could get me to play in this game. I'm not touching it.
I mean, the main thing to always look for in Chicago games is the weather. But it looks like it's okay. It's just cold. 34 degrees, high tomorrow, light wind, so nothing crazy. But it's the lake, so you never know. You might just get like some random gust of wind all of a sudden, like a gale.
And then Jared Goff throws 4 interceptions. Oh no.
Well, I mean, the Lions are just, I don't know what's going on with them. All I know is that Aaron Glenn is not a good defensive coordinator. He's terrible. Like, say whatever you want about the various players on that team. And like, you know, I'm sure that Khan and many Giants fans are like, thank you for taking Aiden Hutchinson. We like Thibodeau better. But like I genuinely and this like to Thibodeau's credit, I don't even think that you can argue that like Wink is maximizing him as a pass rusher or something. But I definitely know Aaron Glenn is not utilizing Aiden Hutchinson in ways that make any sense. Like the amount of times you see him drop back into like a zone coverage is ridiculous. Like what you didn't draft this guy to like be dropping back into like it's just nuts watching some of the stuff they do.
Every defensive coordinator's wet dream to just take their best edge rusher and put him in coverage. It's their goal in life. It's the most stupid thing. But if I had to pick one thing to bet on, I would just bet on a Montgomery touchdown playing his old team. That's the only thing I would do.
Dude, fuck off. Like, you just said that to get a rise out of me. That's the only reason you said
that. No, but it was a positive. I have to be honest with you.
I like anything Fields passing related. The Lions' pass defense has been abysmal lately, and the Bears are underdogs for a reason. I could see, anything Fields passing related, yards, attempts, it's probably all going to be too low because of the weather. And yeah, I saw some Sharp posting about Fields' passing attempts earlier on Twitter today. So yeah, I think he's gonna have a good day. And
if you like Fields maybe having a good day, the over on passing touchdowns for him 1.5 plus 190 on the over.
There you go. Yeah, that's as big a vig you'll see for 1.5. On this side of like Joe Flacco. Actually, Flacco's probably not even that long. Like, it's rare you see plus 190 for 1.5. That's disrespectful.
If we're betting Fields, did anybody say DJ Moore props? Because if you want to bet Fields, DJ Moore's target share with him is nuts. I think it's like a low 30.
That is a really good way to bet Fields. Just bet DJ Moore.
So DJ Moore 80 plus yards plus 116. But everything else, I don't like the values here. Like 70 yards is minus 132, 60 is minus 205, 50 is minus 320, 40 is minus 550. Like, and then it's like, well, do I really want to bet on DJ Moore getting 81 yards receiving? I don't know. Like, I don't know. The field thing is because you never know when Getsy's just going to get out of bed and be like, you know what? What if we only throw the ball within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage and that's it? So you need Yak, right? That's kind of the big thing with what the way they run their offense is like. It just needs to be one of the and it's possible. Like, Jeff brought up, like, the fucking Lions pass defense has been an abomination lately.
Yeah.
They've just been really, really bad. And maybe they should have kept Okuda. I don't know. But yeah, it's been really bad. And again, I can't stress enough how bad of a job Aaron Glenn is doing, because that defensive line to me is pretty solid. Their linebacking guys, I like Anzalone. I think Anzalone's a solid player.
I don't know why he bounces around. He's a pretty decent player.
Yeah, and they drafted that other guy last year too, right? I can't remember his name.
Jack Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell. Campbell's been really good too for them. You should not be just leaking points. They made fucking the Saints last week look explosive. Get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? The Saints have been the worst red zone team in the league all year, and they looked like they couldn't stop scoring in the red zone last week. That was, again, the Lions were lucky to get out of that game with the win because they were playing with fire the whole week. Honestly, the more we talk about this, I kind of like the Lions money line. I don't know. I think they're playing, say whatever you want about Eberflus. And I do look, I think if you want to blame him for something, I'd blame him for picking Getsy as his offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But that defense has been playing better. I think they have and getting Montez Sweat, again, Ryan Pace is stupid for a lot of reasons. I think that Sweat trade was fine. I think Sweat's a good player, and they needed a pass rusher, and they locked him in, right? They already extended him. So that was a good pickup for them. And I forgot, I was actually talking to a Commanders fan. My friend lives with a Commanders fan. I think the night before Thanksgiving. So we were all very, very lucid talking about this. But he was saying, Chase Young is so much more talented than Montez Sweat. But I always liked Sweat more because he's Sweat, I know what he's going to do every single play. He's going to give me everything he's got. Chase Young is you're just rolling the dice. Like, well, is he going to try on this play? Does he care today? But yeah, I think if I were to bet this, and I'm not betting this, I think I would be going Bears money line here.
Well, I don't. If I was to lean somewhere, I think I'd go there. What I will say is I put a parlay for, as you said, DJ Moore over 80 yards and a Montgomery touchdown, and I played 5 to win 13, or pay 13, win 18. So that's just a little something. I mean, I think those are like two pretty chalk, I guess, plays for this game, but I think it's both teams' bread and butter, right? Montgomery at the goal line, funnel pass game to DJ Moore. I think it's just you just do it. So I guess I'm a hypocrite for saying I wouldn't bet this game because I just did.
Yeah. Schwinn, you're talking about the Bills. This Bills-Chiefs line has moved a ton towards the Bills. Like, I know you'd probably never bet against or just like on a game your team's playing, but like, are the Bills really better than the Chiefs? Are we that low on the Chiefs after their last game? Is that?
I mean, I think this is why the Bills they make no sense this season. One thing I will say, first of all, I don't know. I've talked a lot about this with other Bills fans. Like, maybe there are some reasons with collective bargaining agreement that they can't suspend Von Miller since the charges have been dropped. But I find it very disgusting that he's going to be active for this game. I understand that innocent until proven guilty, whatever. I'm not a fan of it. Also, Sean McDermott, interesting stuff. Why a story from 2019 is coming out now, I'm not sure. I'm sure Tyler Dunn is definitely a really stand-up reporter and definitely not a fucking prick, but hey, neither here nor there. Weird anecdote though, Sean. Maybe pick a different. Maybe don't go with that one. But
it's not how you inspire.
Yeah, but one thing I will say, the Bills have won their last two regular season games in Arrowhead the last 2 years. They they should have won that game in the playoffs that I will never get over for the rest of my life. They should have won that game. Sean McDermott's 3-3 all time, I think now, against Andy Reid. He's won 3 out of the last 4, I want to say, or 2 out of the last 3, whatever it is. But he has a good record against Andy Reid. They've played well in Arrowhead. He's won 3 times in Arrowhead, actually. So they're 3-1, 3-2 in Arrowhead. Unfortunately, the 2 they lost were in the playoffs. But I think that's and look, all the nerd numbers love the Bills. Like, have loved them all year. They continue to love them even more than the Chiefs. The nerds love the Chiefs too, but I think they apparently love the Bills more. And I do think the Bills offense has looked explosive the last couple of weeks. I mean, they lost to Philly, and I know Philly's not been great defensively this year, but they moved the ball at will basically in that game. They moved the ball at will against the Jets, who have given them a shit ton of problems over the last couple of years. The offense is trending in the right direction. I know that the Chiefs defense has been pretty stout this year. It does feel like they've been a little bit more leaky last few weeks. I don't know. Like, I think, again, this is one where if you're going to take the Bills, do not take the points. Take the money line. Like, this is a game that I don't see them. I don't know. If I'm taking this, I'm not interested in the points. I'm only taking the money line. Why they're getting so much action, coming off a bye, maybe. I know McDermott's record is pretty good off a bye. I also don't know, like, the Chiefs have lost 2 in a row, so there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. But I would. I mean, I'm not going to bet this game, as Jeff does. But if I were to bet it, I think you want to probably look at like Allen and Mahomes props. That's what I would look at.
I mean, have you seen that Donovan Smith, Isaiah Pacheco, Drew Tranquill, and Brian Cook are all going to be out for the Chiefs? I think the biggest one there being
Pacheco out or suspended?
He's out.
Okay.
Hurt, not suspended.
What did he do? Break his fist?
Just means it's Clyde time.
Clyde time. Yeah. I actually I picked up Jerick McKinnon in a fantasy league where I desperately need a win, and it's the most disgusting thing I've ever done as a human being. Like, he hasn't played this season more than like 20 snaps max, and I'm gonna have him out there week 14 trying to clinch a playoff spot.
Con, if you win this week and I lose and you outscore me by 40, you steal the 1 seed from me.
Oh,
don't do that.
I'm sorry. I just realized this. Like, do you guys see the 4:30 slate tomorrow? Why the fuck is the NFL playing these 2 games at the same time? Bills, Chiefs,
Bills, Chiefs.
It's Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles, Cowboys, right?
Eagles, Cowboys is that night.
Or is that the Sunday game? Okay,
no,
so I'm
reading it's Chargers, Broncos is the other 4:30 game.
Yeah.
Okay. Either way, I was gonna say, man, that's brutal. But yeah, that would be insane. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna take this, but again, I do think I kind of like the under, to be honest. These games have not been super high scoring. They were not super high scoring last year with this team. What was it? It was 24-20, their regular season matchup last year, which is the only time they played. I don't know. It feels like ever since that playoff game, the assumption is like, oh, they're going to score 70 points combined. I don't know. I don't really see it.
I mean, it's +1. Like, at that point, to me, it doesn't really matter. So sure, if you want to take somebody, take Bills money line. I feel like, Con, if it makes you feel better, I picked CHFO. I mean, I think the fact that you picked him up and I picked up Pacheco tells us that we're both fucked. but regardless, I think.
Don't worry, Nick's tape. I picked up Clyde too. So.
Okay. All right. So you teamed up against me. Okay.
The master. Yeah.
Dude, I loved Clyde out of the draft, and looking back, I was such an idiot for liking him. Like, just so fat. But anyway.
Jesus.
I would probably just take like Kincaid over and just leave it at that. I know Knox is back, but I think Kincaid has established himself enough in the offense, and just, he's the number 2 guy now after Diggs. And with Tranquil out, Nick Bolton's back, but he's going to be first game back now without his other linebacker tandem there. Just tough for me. I don't see them guarding the middle of the field well, especially without Brian Cook either.
Kincaid is 36.5 yards. That's what FanDuel has it at, minus 113 either way. So it's pretty tight.
What about his alternate line?
I can look it up right now. Kincaid. Okay, so 40 plus 106, 50 plus 188, 60 plus 290. I like the 50 plus 188. It's not bad there.
I was gonna say 60 is a little much, but I like that.
This is from Nick Stape. For Schwinn, how big a role do you see Knox having in his return? What are the chances he takes a decent percentage of snaps from Kincaid? Everybody is guessing. Nobody knows, and I'll tell you why. Because this is not the mad scientist at offensive coordinator anymore, with the great now departed Ken Dorsey. Joe Brady has done a lot of interesting stuff. Kincaid's just been trending up all year, though, as a target in terms of his target share. I think Allen definitely trusts him now. He's probably got the best hands on the team. Like, I don't know, him and Diggs, that's a toss-up. But I don't know. I struggled to see why his percentage of snaps would go down, because the last 2 weeks have been their best offensive performances of this season, as far as I'm concerned. I know they scored 48 against Miami. They had a lot of – that was a totally different game and team in a lot of ways, with the defense giving them such good field position consistently throughout that game. But, like, these last 2 weeks –
off like a 65-yard touchdown.
Yeah, right. These last 2 weeks have felt different, and Kincaid's been a huge part of that. I just can't see what the argument is to reduce his percentage of snaps. If Knox is going to take snaps, I think they would probably come from like
2 tight ends.
Yeah, maybe. So you get less. Probably you're definitely going to get less Sherfield. Maybe less. Why can't I think of his name right now? Why is it escaping me? Yeah, maybe a little less Shakir, but I just think you'll get less Sherfield and more 2 tight end stuff. So to answer your question, I think Knox will not have a huge role, but either way, I don't see him taking percentage of snaps from Kincaid.
What about my guy, Gabe Davis?
Gabe will probably have 5 touchdowns in this game.
Yes. Yeah.
He probably will. He's on my bench this week. So.
Well, so I'm just catching up on this. You and Jeff should bond over this right here. I hate that.
Oh yeah, I mean, Nick's tape is. He's usually right, so that's a good take. I mean, it's not David. It's not. It's like blaming the Kardashians for being the Kardashians. If the Kardashians didn't exist, there would just be another dumbass family doing dumbass shit. Like David Montgomery, if he didn't exist, they just re-signed Jamal Williams, and he'd be taking carries from Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, that's true.
It's not David Montgomery's fault. So,
can we talk?
I mean, Jamal Williams.
Go ahead.
He's already taken away share from Kendra Miller in New Orleans, so he's asshole.
I know that we're not doing just the New York centric stuff, but the Jets are getting 3.5 at home against the Texans. Tomorrow the weather, I think it's supposed to be pretty rainy, if I'm not mistaken, so it should be wet. I don't know how much that matters. I haven't loved the Texans the last couple of weeks. I know they won last week, but the offense has not been as awesome as it had been at earlier points. I thought they got pretty fortunate last week in winning that game. But I don't even know what to make of this, because the Jets thing with the whole quarterback situation this week has been a fucking disaster. That defense just feels like they're almost at the end of their kind of rope, right? With just how much they've been asked. They have no margin for error. We've talked about this plenty. And Nate Hackett has reverted to all the worst things about Nate Hackett. As I'm sure if anybody needs to know what are the worst things about Nate Hackett, listen to any pod that Jeff has done in the last couple of months, and you'll hear all of it. I don't know what to make of this game, because I do like this Jets. I like this matchup for the Jets defense. I think I just think they're going to. I don't know. I know that they've been at the end of their rope, but I guess I don't know. For some reason I kind of like the Jets here, but I'm not. I would never take this game. And this is up there with one of the dumbest games of the week, but it cannot pass the dumbest game of the weekend, which is guaranteed to be the where is it here? The Buccaneers Falcons. Because
I was gonna say that's got to be it.
That's the dumbest. Although Panthers Saints will also probably be very
that is the one I was thinking of. So I guess the whole NFC South is just the clown show. It's just what it is. They're just trash. But looking at I want to see where the money is for that Jets game, because you kind of talked me into them, and I'm kind of feeling them.
I like this matchup. I don't know. I think their defense is obviously still very good, and
we can just admit it, guys. This is a Zach Wilson fan podcast. It's okay. It's okay. We can come to terms with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another thing too. Is I look. Zach Wilson is not. He's a bad quarterback, a bad starting quarterback, but he's inarguably better than Tim fucking Boyle and Trevor fucking Siemian. This is not. We don't need to that's not a debate. There's a reason why we bench Zach. This is it. This is the end. And it's well, what if it's not the end though? Because those guys are terrible. And Garrett Wilson, I didn't watch the fucking all 22 or anything like that, but apparently from the sounds of it, Garrett Wilson was running open a bunch last weekend. They missed him a few times, just didn't throw the ball. If nothing else, we do know that Zach Wilson learned to just spam Garrett Wilson, which is more than we can say for Tim Boyle or whatever. So I don't know. I do kind of like the Jets money line here. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Especially without Tank, I think it makes him and Schultz is out. I don't know.
And their offensive line is beat up. They've been beat up all year.
Yeah, so I think schematically, they're way easier to, as anybody would be without their tight end 1 and wide receiver 1.5, whatever you want to call Tank.
What if this is the Mechie breakout game, though?
That would have happened already.
Dude, Stroud missed him bad last week. Mechie broke open down the field. Stroud had a weird game last week. I don't know what Russ was doing at the end of that game. I don't know what that was.
Why did he make that throw? Like he was acting like it was like fourth down.
I don't know I don't know what any of it was. I don't have an answer. Yeah, I don't have an answer for any of it. That was crazy.
By the way, Broncos defense, they're not getting a lot of credit out in the national stuff, but they're playing great.
Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't, I kind of like the thing is that, I mean, they're getting 2.5 in LA. The Chargers always play Denver well. That's the only, and I know it's different teams from past teams. For whatever reason, since the Chargers got Herbert, the Broncos just can't figure him out. He always drops buckets all over the Broncos defense.
He's so good.
Brandon Staley will figure it out.
If anybody can find a way, it's Staley. How is he still employed? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Maybe their owner is like broke or something, and he doesn't want to fire him until after the season. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. I can't believe he hasn't lost his job yet.
Well, that would make sense because their owner is Greek, and we usually go broke. So
I'll take your word for it. But like, I don't know. I also just think, I think Peyton's a really good coach. I think he's a better coach than you guys have had on that sideline for a long time. They're playing well. Like, yes, they lost last week, but I think like they lost because Russ was on crack last week for some reason. I thought they were the better team, and I think they're a better team than the Chargers are right now. That Chargers run game is atrocious. Their defense somehow, even with like their defense just does not live up to the. I mean, I think they're spending the highest percentage of the cap on their defense, right, in the NFL, and it's awful. Like they're not a good defense. And again, like this is the sport where to me coaching matters more than anything, like than in any other sport. And Peyton versus Staley is like, that's like fucking, Randall versus Crunch Time, just a mismatch. So it's, that's what it is.
Randall versus Crunch Time is crazy. That's a really good one.
That's getting added to my bag. That's for sure.
It's solid.
Also, the Texans, just because I was looking at this while you guys were talking, the Texans are averaging 3.6 yards per carry, and I know for at least fantasy reasons they've given up a ton of points to the running back. So I'm thinking maybe like a Breece Hall receptions game. Like over receptions, over receiving yards. I'm gonna check out what that is right now.
Well, what you have to bake in is what's the stupidest thing that Nate Hackett could do, and not involving Breece Hall is pretty high up there. So I think that's probably what will happen. This is from Hawkeye 420. Is this true? He said I don't think Wilson had any yards last game until the third quarter.
I think it was. I think it was true. And then I also know that. I mean, they had Tim Boyle in the game. Like, Tim Boyle stepping on a high school field is probably not getting anybody any receiving yards. Like, it doesn't matter. And this week, like, I don't know what Garrett Wilson's line is at for this week, but I'm confident if not yards, receptions is probably a pretty good bet to take just because you're going to get 12 targets.
What are the numbers? Let's go there before.
Yeah,
I want to know what the numbers.
Just talk about Breece. I wanted to go back to Breece for a second, just because I had brought that up. If you want to bet, okay, so if you want to bet his total yardage, 75 plus is plus 105, 100, which is not happening. I'm not even gonna say it. Receiving yards over 21.5 is minus 110. I think that's a pretty solid line.
This is Breece, and it's how much?
Breece over 21.5 for minus 110.
How are the Texans at covering running backs? Is that a weakness?
So the Texans give up the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth most receiving yards to running backs. On kind of a small target share, which is weird. So it looks like they're giving up kind of big play. Yeah, they're giving up more big plays. They're more middle of the pack in how many targets they give up.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, though, right? You'd probably look at their defense. You'd probably say the linebackers are the weakest part of that defense right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it kind of makes sense, but I agree. I mean, look, that number is pretty low too. I mean, that's literally like you're talking about one screen that goes 15 yards, and you're almost there.
Yeah, that's why I like it. And I just checked Garrett's numbers. His over 4.5 is minus 115 for receptions, and then for his yardage, over 53.5 is minus 115.
I like the receptions.
I like receptions a lot more.
Yeah.
4.5 seems low. The Texans are pretty neutral against receivers, and
I wonder. I mean, I know Khan's been a big fan of him since he was drafted, but he's been really balling out the last few weeks. Stingley. So this might be. Do you think Stingley's going to tail Wilson all over?
Even if he does, I don't think Stingley is the type of guy. Like Stingley's good in coverage, but he's a great ball hawk in my opinion. So
that pick
I'm not
he had where he came off of that was it the second pick? That was a ridiculous pick. That was not even a terrible Russ throw. That was just an amazing play by Stingley.
It was really nice. And the one angle of it was really cool because it was almost like Stingley just baited him into it. Like he knew exactly where Russ wanted to go, and he stayed. He let Russ believe that the pass was there just long enough that. And the pick look. So when you first saw the interception, it was like, what the hell is Russ doing? Why did he think that was open? And then you saw the back view, and it was like, oh, that's why he thought it was open. It was open, but Stingley knew what was happening.
It was like the Ed Reed Belichick one that he talks about all the time. Him and Peyton. Yeah,
that's such a cool clip.
Yeah,
I thought that play was pretty similar to what Banks did against the Commanders, that in that second game. Where he was playing zone. I don't know if you guys remember this. I might just be too much of
Listen, Con, not all of us, whack it to Giants clips. Let's get a little bit more descriptive. Let's get a little bit more descriptive here, buddy.
Big Tommy DeVito guy over
here. Sometimes I forget that normal people are not in their lecture hall doing a live stream. I forget that sometimes. But it was we clipped this, Jeff. I know for a fact because I texted you in all caps after it happened. He was playing zone, and then it was by the sideline. He made a similar kind of like basket catch, and he was in coverage on McLaurin. I don't know if any of this stuff helps, but yeah, just positive Giants talk because there's nothing else to talk about.
Well, if we're gonna flip to the Giants, I know we touched on it briefly, but I mean, I don't know, this Packers thing, they've been on a tear, right? Doesn't this just have the feel of like one of these come back to earth performances, right? Jordan Love's getting he played fantastic. He played fantastic against the Chiefs. But
how do they just get someone who can obviously he's not Rodgers, obviously.
Well, he's much better.
This is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time we're talking about here. But aesthetically, he looks so much like him when he's rolling. It's shocking to me. I don't know, the way he just the ball. It's just flicks it out, and he makes all these throws that take so much arm talent. I don't know how the Packers did this. 2
questions. Do you think that he has more or less vaccines than Aaron Rodgers? And second, do you think that Jordan Love talks to his family?
I think he definitely talks to his family. I think he shows them a lot of love.
Oh damn! I was
no comment on the Pfizer Moderna situation going on in the Love household. I'll leave that to him. That's none of my business.
Dude, you know what's crazy? My sister is a massive Taylor Swift fan, and she asked me why people call Travis Kelce Mr. Pfizer.
Whoa, that's weird. Really?
Do you not? Because Rodgers went on.
No, I know why he does, because he started dating her, and then all of a sudden he was the spokesperson for Pfizer.
Yeah. So then,
trust me, I'm in on the conspiracy theories. Con. You don't have to. I may not know what a Deontay Banks pick looks like, but I'm there with the conspiracy theories. That's weird that she wouldn't know that though.
So I mean, the reason I like the Packers offensive line, to your point about like Jordan Love when he's like moving, I think he actually, I mean, what made that performance last week so incredible is I thought he actually made plays in that game that were not like, it's not like he was sitting in a perfect pocket or, oh my God, amazing. Like, look, LaFleur, I think, is a great coach and really, really underrated. But like, this was not a, oh my God, LaFleur is a genius game to me. This was like oh wow, Jordan Love is making plays game. And I like the Giants defensive line, especially Lawrence if he plays. I mean, Lawrence and Thibodeau together, they've been awesome. And, I don't know. I just, is there like can you bet on sacks? If you can bet on like sacks, Kayvon Thibodeau's sacks would be an interesting bet to take.
And another impressive thing about what Love's doing is like Christian Watson's been underwhelming injured all season. And he's by far their most talented receiver. I mean, they've got Romeo Doubs, who he's fine. He's working with kind of a smorgasbord of receivers, like this is what won Aaron Rodgers an MVP is Devontae Adams leaves and Rodgers kind of replicates he won.
No. I was going to say, I have something to say, but finish your point.
I just think I think that with how the Giants defense works and, say what you want about Wink Martindale and how often he lets the line blitz, how often they drop back into coverage. But, if you have defensive backs who you trust to stay with these guys, and I think the Giants really do trust their secondary, it could be tougher on Love than people expect.
Watson's out, right?
I believe so.
That's a big loss. That's not a joke. And like, again, I just think the Giants defense, like, they're good. Like, I know they've had when they break down, they look like the worst defense ever, but they've been mostly good since that awful start to the season. They've been mostly pretty solid. And, they have the greatest cornerback of all time, as Khan likes to call him, and as Jeff has stated before, Banks, the greatest corner in the league, obviously. But no, like they are playing better. I actually think McKinney's looked better the last few weeks too. I didn't like the way he started the season. I thought he's looked better the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Schwinn, I don't know if you also know this. Not only do they have the greatest cornerback of all time, but they have slightly better Myles Garrett on the edge too. So like this is a super team that we're watching at 4-8 here.
Well, you're talking about Ojulari, right? Not Thibodeau.
No.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna die on this sword. I don't care. I still think Azeez Ojulari is a better pass rusher than Kayvon Thibodeau. Like, Giants fans can come at me for it. I think Azeez, like, dude, yes, he's been hurt. I fucking know he's been hurt. But he's so good. He's so good.
Actual pass rusher or in a phone booth pass rusher?
Oh, come on.
So the DeVito alternate passing yards lines are wild. 200 plus yards. You're getting plus 172 on that. On 200 plus. Like, that's wild. You're rarely going to see that for most quarterbacks.
I think Green Bay's pass defense has been really good this year. I could be wrong about that. Yeah.
Hawkeye, the thing is, I do believe it. And it's not that that means like Kayvon's like not good. Like, he's obviously really good. I don't know, man. I think Azeez, maybe you want to call him equals, sure. My point is Giants fans are too low on him for the fact that he's missed games. Like, everybody misses games, man. It's a car crash sport. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being picky.
What do we think about where is it? Why don't they have more fucking they don't okay, here we go. They don't actually have I don't see Jalen Hyatt alternate pass receiving yards at all up here. They don't have that on FanDuel.
I think it's because he's just too variable, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, how can they put a line for someone who's just going to be like 0 or 80? Like it's kind of over under 22 and a half. It's like, yeah.
How funny is it though that like Rodgers left and then the Packers like, okay, now all of our young players, like we're going to draft receivers,
Yeah.
and they're going to be great.
And not
no, Mafo, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like that's so I don't. Yeah, they spent so many years drafting anything but receivers in Green Bay, and then now all of a sudden it's just like bang, bang, bang. That's such a good point.
This is crazy. This is a crazy
Aziz Nilakina. Which is funny because they both always have pulled groin, so that's not a bad comp. It's not a bad comp at all. I hope Aziz gets as many pitches as Frank does. Yeah. Hope he learns the game from him. That's a joke between me and Frank. You don't think so? We know he doesn't have as much drip as Frank.
Nobody does. Just, I mean, the Hornets are hot, and Frank's coming back soon. Watch out for that team. Thank God the Knicks have already played them 3 times.
Yo, what would be the scenes if Frank became a superstar?
I know.
Yeah. And then, like, Leon brings him back.
People have said too many things.
We're just doing crazy fan fiction now.
Crazy Knicks fan fiction right now.
Crazy fan fiction.
All-Star Frank 2028 in New York.
Who knows? Maybe Rashford could find the goal too. We'll see.
No, that can't happen. The Falcons, like, we have to talk about Arthur Smith, right? Because like we are obligated to talk about the Falcons every week.
Yeah, it's the next segment. Before we go there, I wanted to bring one more thing up for the Packers.
Yeah.
From Jacob Gibbs on Twitter, JA_Gibbs_23. He has absolutely fantastic content. Without Christian Watson on the field, Jaden Reed has a 26% target share, and Romeo Doubs has a 24% target share. So, if you're betting anybody in that offense, I'd bet one of those two guys. I wouldn't touch nothing else besides maybe Tucker Kraft touchdown if the odds are good enough.
Nice.
So just throwing it out there.
Yes. So what are we like? Arthur Smith exists. Jeff's favorite coach in the NFL. What they're giving 2.5 here to the Bucs. I actually think the Bucs are much better coached. Like I think they're a better coach. I think Canales is a way better offensive mind than Arthur Smith, and also like Baker's better, right? Baker's better than Ritter.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like this line feels a little weird to me. I understand that they're at home, so you're giving them the edge, but I don't know. This feels like a decent spot for the Bucs.
Look, I think we're all just gonna be betting with our hearts here. We need Atlanta out of here as soon as possible. Dude, if I have to watch Arthur Smith in a playoff game, I will commit some sort of thing that's never been done before. I don't know. I can't do that. I think the Bucs. I just will continue to believe in their overall talent. Like I think they're underperforming. I think Todd Bowles is a terrible coach for what it's worth. Like he's somehow the most he somehow was a coordinator and in the same coaching room as Bruce Arians and Tom Brady and learned nothing. He's still the same coach as he was of the Jets. He's awful at every single close decision. It's horrendous to watch. And also like his defensive strategy is way too conservative. Like I still will never forget the playoff game, the last second to last playoff game Tom Brady lost to the Rams when the Rams were up like 21, huge lead. The Bucs come back all the way back and tie the game. And then they just like drop a linebacker onto Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp has a 50-yard catch to put them in field goal range. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, what was that? Bulls just, I just think he's not the guy. But he's the better head coach in this game, so good for him.
I like Canales though; like he's a really good offensive coordinator, and I think he's gonna get a head coaching interview at the bare minimum after the season, no doubt.
I agree. I just still think defensively there's more meat on the bone for the Bucs, and it wouldn't surprise me if they start to play better because they have a lot of talent on that defense, even if it hasn't looked like it this year. Yeah. And Mike Evans, great. I mean, I feel like people don't understand that Mike Evans is going to be a lock Hall of Famer. Like his career is very underrated almost. It's like because he was never the best receiver in the league, people don't understand how unprecedented what he's doing is. He won a Super Bowl. Another great season for Evans. Him and Baker are starting to. When the Bucs got Baker, I feel like everyone expected Godwin to be the guy because Baker and Godwin, Baker's more of an intermediate route guy. Godwin, those are the types of routes he runs. Godwin just hasn't gotten anything going with Baker. It's pretty much all been Evans.
Oh, I know. I have Godwin in my dynasty league. It's been a bad year for me and Chris Godwin. By the way, when you talk about Mike Evans, you gotta give him the full title. Khan likes to call him Future Giant Mike Evans. That's what Khan calls him nowadays.
Yes, that's famously what I call him actually.
Is he 30 yet? He's got to be 30, right?
Yeah,
he's 30. Yeah, he just turned 30.
But he's a guy I'm unfacetiously, I do think the Giants should be in on a guy like him. He just would add so much to your offense.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants need anything at receiver.
And I just think we've talked about this before, but I think you get a guy like that in your receiver room, it opens up the game so much for your other weapons. I think you'll get the best out of Hyatt, right? You'll get the best out of a guy like Wandale when you bring in a guy of that caliber. Even like Waller. I mean, you've talked about it before where you're Waller is a really great a great receiving tight end, but it's not like he changes, he doesn't open up the field, but you get a guy like Evans, now it's a totally different thing. I don't know. I'd be pretty into, if I was the Giants, I'd be I think it's insane. There's been rumors, right, that the Jets, Rodgers is pushing them to trade for Devontae Adams in the summer. And look, I get it. Devontae Adams is awesome. And Rodgers obviously has a great rapport with him, but dude, there are receivers in this free agent class that you can just fucking sign and not give up 2 first-round picks or something. Mike Evans, T. Higgins is awesome. I mean, Jeff's talked about this all the time, but T. Higgins is basically a 1. He's a 1. He's a great receiver, and he's going to be available. They're not going to pay T. Higgins. It's not going to happen.
So, and T. Higgins he's 7 years younger than Devontae Adams. So I agree completely with Schwinn. I just want to say I am a little bit sympathetic to Khan. I saw Khan hesitating a bit, and I know there was some part of him that was yeah, but if I'm playing Madden, I just want Wandy Robinson and Jalen Hyatt to be able to develop naturally. I don't want to step on their development. I appreciate that Khan believes in those two so heavily.
You got to understand what Khan was thinking was I really love the top guard market in the free agency class. I've been crunching this IOL tape, and let me tell you, there are guys that can really pin and pull in this league.
Schwinn, thankfully for any potential free agent receiver, I like the interior lineman in the draft class this year, not free agency.
What was your reaction to Evan Neal's humble reaction to being asked if he would move to guard?
Oh yeah, I'm very glad. I'm very glad we're talking about this. So Evan Neal was asked about a potential position change after Joe Shane was asked about it, and Joe Shane was like, "For right now, we've watched the tape from Bama again. We think he's a tackle, and we draft him to be that tackle." So then the media asked him about it, Evan Neal himself, and he said, "When I stepped out of the womb, I stepped out of the womb as a tackle."
Oh, man.
And all I can think about is, well, you've been a tackle for 22 years, and you can't do a fucking thing right.
He's been so bad this year, and honestly, I think as weird and frustrating as probably the season's been for Giants fans, I think if you just saw progression from Neal, you'd feel so much better about this team. But you got nothing from him this year, and that sucks because, I mean, you've talked about this, right? I'm sure, but McFadden, you've gotten development from these other guys they've picked. Not on the offensive line necessarily. I'm just talking about in general, McFadden and Banks and, Wandale, Hyatt, whatever. You've seen what you kind of want to see from those guys. And just to get nothing. And Thibodeau, obviously, you've talked about it. What is he at? Is he at 10.5 sacks? 11? What the hell is he at now?
I think it's 10.5.
Yeah.
I've distanced myself a little bit.
Yeah, I mean he's at least showing you you're like, okay, he might actually be exactly what we hoped he would be when we picked him, right? Like one of the elite edge rushers in the league. You're seeing stuff like that from him. And just with Neal, you're just like, man, you're giving me nothing. Like it's just that all the tape from this year is just brutal with him.
I want to.
This is a good question, by the way, from Hawkeye. I'm curious about what your thoughts are on this. Offensively, the staff hasn't developed much. Do they get credit for AT Andrew Thomas?
I'll get into that right after I talk about this. Higgins can't stay on the field. And I think T. Higgins is going to be the top guy in free agency. I don't understand why it wouldn't be Michael Pittman, honestly. He's been a one in his offense. He's 2 years older. Oh, no. Was he going to be in an elderly home in 5 years? No. He's 26. And he stays healthy. I think he's way more versatile, whether, it's short, quick game, intermediate, deep ball, than T. Higgins is. And neither one of them can get a 50-year option. Well, they wouldn't have a pending free agent status if they had the 50-year option. But I think Michael Pittman, because of the rumors they had earlier this offseason, it was for like a season. It was for like a week where they were talking about how he's unhappy with his role and stuff like that. That's the guy I'd want to go after. I'm sure they can pay him because Richardson is on a rookie deal and whatnot. But to me, Pittman is the guy who I really want. And then potentially Marquise Brown, I think, is going to be a better value than T. Higgins.
Just look, the Giants are going to win this game, and you're going to have to come. You're gonna have to come to the realization that you're no longer drafting a quarterback, and that Malik Neighbors will be a Giant.
I wouldn't even I wouldn't drown myself with alcohol if that happened.
I think Pittman's probably the most underrated receiver in the NFL right now.
Stachen's doing a great job, by the way, too.
I play him in DFS every week, Jeff.
That's a smart play. What he's doing with Gardner Minshew, and he's pretty much never had a quarterback in his career.
Phil Rivers slander. This is wild.
Yes, that is Philip Rivers, 40-year-old Philip Rivers, going to sleep every night with 10 kids in his bed.
Dude, he's not going to sleep with 10 kids. He's popping out and he's trying to make sure number 11 happens.
I don't.
Wait, who was it that had like 12 kids and then they got a vasectomy and they had another kid after that? Cromartie, yes.
Craziest thing.
I think the Colts are just going to keep him. I'd be shocked if he was anywhere but Indy.
Well, Spotrac has him at 4 years, $90 million, and honestly, I would give him 5 years.
To like what you're talking about, Jeff. Like, I know that we're not, and whatever. We can talk about Carolina too, but like the dumbest thing Carolina did in trading up for Bryce Young is like whatever you think about Bryce Young is you traded away your like one actual good weapon to go get Bryce Young, and you throw him on this team, and it's like he's like, okay, so I have to throw to 97-year-old Adam Thielen. Like that's my guy right now. Like that's what we're doing here. And to your point, like you can't draft Anthony Richardson, even if you draft a wide receiver, right, this year, like you can't be like, well, we're going to let Pittman go. It makes no sense to do that. Like you pay to keep your weapon to keep with your young quarterback who, hopefully will be back and ready to go next year, because I did love everything else. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, obviously I watched Josh Allen his entire career, but like some of the stuff with Anthony Richardson was like, he's one of those guys where it's like, you'd look at the numbers and you'd be like, if you didn't watch him play, you'd be like, this guy must have had a terrible game. But like, if you watched those games, you would be like, you understood it. Like when he makes a play, there's an impact it has. He was really good. I was super, super impressed with him. And I think you could see that this year with Florida, by the way. If you watch them, like they were brutal this season. I mean, I don't even know how they kept that to a 9-point game against Florida State. But like, anyway,
because Florida State's 9-point victory was a huge indictment on them, but Alabama's last second victory over Auburn was super convincing, and yeah, good.
Well,
good
they're just
luck.
different. They're totally nobody. The thing is, no team has ever won anything with a backup quarterback, right? So
another great point. You know what? What part of this nobody's talked about? If they actually believed in their logic, if they were actually just like, you know what, we just don't think Florida like
Georgia has to be in.
Well,
Based
Georgia
on their
has
logic.
Georgia has to be above. Georgia has to be above Florida State.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to. Whatever. Like if they were just like, we just think Alabama will make for a. Nobody disagrees that Alabama's better than Florida State right now. Like if somebody's arguing that Florida State's better than Alabama because Florida State went undefeated, you can just disregard that person's logic. But Florida State deserved to be in. And I say that my younger brother went to Bama. Like I have an somewhat emotional investment rooting for Alabama just because I love my younger brother and I love seeing him happy. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I don't, pun intended. It's cool that we get to root for Alabama together and yada yada. I love that.
Tell your younger brother I said fuck Bama.
I will be sure to do so as their.
By the way, Swinny Poo said,
"Yeah, dude, my dad loves you. He's always out. He's always every single time. Because you're always, everything you say on Twitter. He's like, oh my god, I agree. Yeah, I don't get it. Like if they really believe in their logic that Florida State, like, oh, with the backup quarterback and yada yada, Florida State should have been like 12th. Like, why were they exactly 5th? That's how you know it's a farce. Like, it's just so bad. And like robbing those kids of a chance to have a Cinderella story. Like, where do you draw the line here? Just put Alabama and Georgia in every single year. They're always the best anyways. Like they'll always make for the highest quality, blah, 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 blah. The Alabama-Georgia SEC championship game is probably the highest quality college football game that will happen all season. Just put them in every season if that's what you want. But that's stupid. You're taking away. Do they not know what makes March Madness so awesome?
Right.
Newsflash, it's not the highest quality games happening. It's these like just removing Florida State, who did everything they could. Removing the opportunity from them is just embarrassing. I thought it was just such a terrible decision. Sorry.
It's just dumb looking at like, I mean, I know we don't want to turn this into like a whole college football thing, but like, it's just stupid looking at like any level of football over the last decade, right? Ohio State won a national championship with a third string quarterback. The Eagles beat the fucking best court. Like, and by the way, Tom Brady in that Super Bowl, right? It's like maybe his best performance, and they fucking won with Nick Foles at quarterback. Like if you want to go back in history, the Giants beat my Bills in a Super Bowl with fucking Jeff Hostetler at quarterback, backup Jeff Hostetler. Like the list goes on and on. Peyton Manning wasn't the backup quarterback, but he won a Super Bowl with the Broncos with like his shoulder super glued to like, you know what I mean? Like this is
his neck was like held in place, you know, like
like he's wearing like those old school like the high neck braces or whatever. But like,
dude,
yeah, I mean,
those look so intimidating.
They're awesome. Yeah, somebody needs to bring it back. I remember Brian Cox used to rock them all the time. He was awesome.
Schwinn, did you play like Madden growing up, like when like early 2000s?
Yes.
Did you ever create a player and have like like a running back who looked LeBron, who looked like LeBron with like the visor and the neck thing, the neck rolls?
I've always been I'm like a wide receiver guy, so I was always making wide receivers. But yes, like I definitely did that. But yeah, like hey, look, the quarterback thing is stupid. I do want to go back to Carolina though, because where are you guys at with Bryce Young? Like, because I actually feel like I've seen some decent signs from him the last couple weeks, but I think his situation's so bad, and I get it. Like CJ Stroud has obviously looked way better, and he looks like he is. Jeff, you've talked about this too. Like not just you, a lot of people have, but like in retrospect, you're just like, well, CJ Stroud was so much more physically talented. Like, what the hell are we doing here? But I also think it's wrong to deny. Like, not that you're doing this, but I feel like people are acting as if everything that Bryce Young is struggling with is just an indictment on him. And it's like, no, like this team is terrible. Their owner has no idea what the fuck he's doing. He's clearly a problem. They just fired Frank Reich because I think Frank Reich was like, he wanted Stroud, right? I feel like they took Bryce Young. He probably watched him for like the first practice and was like, dude, fuck this. I'm just trying to get paid and get the fuck out of here. But like, I just feel really bad for him because I think the situation sucks, and they've just done such an atrocious job putting talent around him. I understand Brian Burns is a really good player. When you trade the capital they did to get Bryce Young, you need to basically rip the studs out from the team and build from the ground up. Teams were apparently have been offering 2 firsts for Brian Burns at the last 2 trade deadlines. You need to pull the trigger on that because Brian Burns is not the difference between your team being, oh, what was the worst case scenario without Brian Burns? You guys only fucking 0-11 instead of 1-10. Who gives a shit? Like, it's a joke, and I feel really bad for the kid because, say whatever you want about him. Look, I'm sure you watched a lot of Bama games last year, Jeff. Like, CJ Stroud might be done. He's the better prospect, whatever. But like, Bryce Young was a fucking awesome college player. Awesome. Like that game against Tennessee last year. That's one of the most like heroic, legendary type like one-man performances you'll ever see. And I just think it's just dog shit what they've done to like put the situation they put him in this year. I feel really bad for him. He's a really like all the intangible stuff that people said about him, like that shit is real. Like he is that type of dude. But the situation they put him in, this is the type of situation that kills young quarterbacks. And I just really hope that like they can put something around him because I do think that he's shown some signs of like not totally translating everything you saw at Alabama, but like you can see him kind of like making plays. You're like, okay, I think maybe he's figuring some stuff out, but like, he can figure stuff out, but at the end of the day, he's throwing fucking Adam Thielen here. You know what I mean? Like it's a brutal situation. And I just feel really bad for the kid.
Yeah, it's really tough. And they're not doing him any favors with the play calling either. And just, they're not helping him at all. They're not elevating him. They basically need to do what you said and rebuild from the ground up with him as the only staple. I mean, I can't think of too many other people on either side of the ball that the Panthers need to remain attached to. They need to, they should be in on a receiver who can win and make Young's life easier. They should be in on linemen, should be looking to build, improve their line. They should be throwing a lot of money at a coordinator who's not just going to have him bounce around flat-footed in the pocket as, a 6-foot dude who can barely see it. They need so many different things. They're so far away. I agree with you about Bryce Young. I particularly agree with you about his arm talent. Sometimes at Bama, it seemed like he was a little bit hesitant to use his feet and to get outside the pocket. He really, really trusts his arm. And look, I don't want to turn him into Lamar Jackson. I think he's a great thrower of the football. I do believe in his arm talent. But I do think that somebody needs to get it through to him and whoever his coach is that in the NFL, that little bit of loop that he has to have to get the ball over the line consistently without it getting knocked down is the difference between, a couple percentage of completion points. It's the difference between a window being open and a safety closing it. And the only way for him to get zip on more balls is for him to use his feet and get outside the pocket and have those clear throwing lanes. And you just don't see that a ton in Carolina right now. Is that his fault? Is that the coordinator's fault? We'll never know.
It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't really matter. I just don't think we'll see the best version of Bryce Young until they get him out of that pocket. And I felt the same way about Zach Wilson. I hated what they did with him in New York. I hated how much they wanted him to be a traditional quarterback. Guys who are that small can succeed in the NFL. Drew Brees is special for a reason. His whole stand on his tippy toes thing and make it work from the pocket. He's one of a kind. He's the exception, not the rule. Russell Wilson wasn't hopping around on his tippy toes. Russell Wilson was, play action, boots, rolling right, rolling left, doing stuff to make his life easier.
Incredible deep ball too. Russell Wilson's one of the great deep ball throwers in NFL history.
Absolutely. And I think if you want Bryce Young to succeed, you have to just fully embrace that stuff that can make shorter quarterbacks more effective and elevate them, because he does have the arm talent. And another great point you made, I truly believe in his character. So if awesome, there's a way to maximize him, I believe that he will get it. But it's on him and it's on the coach to do it. I'm looking forward to their offseason is the last thing I'll say.
I think the highest praise anybody who cares about college football could give Bryce Young is that This fucking guy was the quarterback of Alabama, and almost universally, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, Bryce Young's awesome." Everybody was like, "Yeah, Bryce Young's cool. I like him. He's a fucking cool dude."
I mean, his team honestly wasn't really that good.
No, it was not a great Bama. It's the worst Bama team of like the last Saban, like the Saban era, basically.
If Bryce Young wasn't who he was, like in college, that team is probably unranked.
Oh, they were
confidently unranked. Like they sucked.
That was like they've obviously had some insane receiver rooms over the years. That was their worst receiver room in like 15 years. That's probably their worst offensive line in a long ass time. Like that was not a Bama team. That was Bryce Young standing on his head and making plays. And like they nearly still got themselves into like the college football playoff. Like that's how good he was in college. So, I look, I'm obviously biased in this scenario because to me, like I watched CJ Stroud in college and I was like, oh, the fucking guy that loses to Michigan every year. I love him. But like, and like, look, maybe it's wrong. And maybe this is like a good argument for like, hey, like wins are not a quarterback stat type of thing. But it was not insane to me to take Bryce Young number one. Like it was not insane to me to prefer him to CJ Stroud, because I do think like, especially at that quarterback position, those like that intangible stuff with Bryce Young is real and it matters. But obviously you need the physical stuff to go with it. And more importantly, I think in this situation, like you need a coordinator that buys into what you are as a player, and you need to have the talent around you to make that happen. And like, like Jeff, you can talk about this very specifically, even with a veteran quarterback, with like how you've seen Russell Wilson last year, where you're like, holy shit, is this guy totally cooked? And this year, like, okay, he's not like what he was in Seattle, but like you can still win ball games with this guy. Like he still has got ability, and that's down to coaching. It's down to putting him in positions that maximize what he's good at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the shift from Hackett to Payton has just been night and day, and I mean, we know as Knicks fans what the difference between a coach who caters to talent versus a coach who, tries to put guys into predetermined roles. The NFL is even more polarizing in the sense of, you need to coach the skill sets, and you need to figure out what makes a player good, and you need to try to elevate him that way rather than just, oh, I know what I like from a quarterback, especially at the quarterback position.
And this applies to all levels of quarterbacks. Like we've seen this with great, like this happened with Aaron Rodgers, right? Like the last 2 years, you remember the last couple of years with McCarthy, where you're just like, this is brutal. Like, is this guy completely done? And then like, LaFleur gets in there like, okay, so McCarthy, and also, by the way, to McCarthy's credit, the shit they're doing right now offensively in Dallas, this is so much better than what he was doing at the end in Green Bay. Like there's so much more pre-snap movement. It's so much more creative. So it's really cool, like to just see like coaches that you're like, oh, this guy sucks, and he's really like actually improved as a coach this year. But yeah, like
what are your guys' thoughts on that game, on Dallas versus Philly?
Well, would you say
Khan wants the earth to part, and for both teams to just be swallowed?
I'm gonna give you guys a glimpse into. This is exactly what I was gonna say, dude. Would you guys say McCarthy pulled Tibbs right here?
I think he's evolved more than Tibbs has.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like Tibbs is evolved in the sense of like he discovered what his best rotation was last year, and he discovered the joy of like, oh, so you don't only need to set ball screens with the 5. You can actually do it with like wings and guards. It is like a meaningful progression for him. I don't mean to totally mock him. And look, me and Jeff have praised him actually a lot this year. But like, yeah, like no, it's McCarthy by a fucking mile. I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know. I don't really have strong thoughts on this because I actually haven't caught the Cowboys too much like this season. I've seen them the last couple of weeks here and there, but I mean, I don't know. Philly's been kind of riding their luck a lot this year. We talked about this last week, and me and Jeff led you astray and told you to pick the Eagles money line. But like, I do think there is something to the idea of like, hey, maybe last week wasn't just a blip because they got really lucky against Buffalo. They got really lucky against the Chiefs. Like both those games should be losses as far as I'm concerned. And I know it's like they're obviously still a really good team. And I want to say this for a record, like I don't think them losing to San Francisco the way they did means that if they played San Francisco again in the playoffs, like they'd be totally fucked. Like I don't think that's how that works. But I don't think they're 10-2 definitely flatters them. Like they that flatters them quite a bit. I think they've gotten pretty fortunate, and at least on paper, if you just look at the rosters up and down, especially given kind of the state of everything with injuries and everything, like all that, you've got to say, like, right, Dallas has a better roster right now than the Eagles.
I think I don't hate that. And just to toot my own horn, I went 5 out of 6 last week, which.
Well, every dog has its day, Con.
Yeah. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Yeah, I've got a few things right too sometimes.
I'm a little bit surprised that the line is not bigger towards Dallas. Like there doesn't seem to be much consistency in the line. Like so, when Philly played Buffalo, Philly closed as like 2.5-point home favorites over Buffalo. So that's like and I know a lot of that is based on the late action, but that's basically saying that they view Buffalo and Philly the same. And now you have Dallas so Buffalo equals Dallas. I feel like Dallas is better, and I feel like they should be slightly bigger favorites.
Come on, John.
Do you just? I'm sorry, Schwinn. But then on the other end of the spectrum,
I I had to watch these guys beat us in 2 Super Bowls. Now I'm catching strays like this. Jeez.
Who has Dallas beaten this season? Like, what's their most impressive win?
No. This is even better. Okay, I want you to do something. Go look at Dallas's record over the last 5 years. Their regular season over the last 5 years. You tell me what good teams have they beaten in the last 5 years? Like they beat the Eagles last year without Jalen Hurts. That's like that was their big win last year.
Well, like they beat the Giants, who are very good.
They have 9 wins this year, and I would say pretty comfortably, their 2 best wins are a road game at the Chargers that they won by 3, or a home game, last week's home game against Seattle that they won in a shootout, 41-35.
Also, Hawkeye, this weekend in Dallas, I need a Batman type scene. I need Bane to walk out onto the field. I need him to start giving his speech, and then everything from the bottom up, just everything sinks.
Oh, do you feel in control?
Yeah, do you? I was raised in this darkness,
but
so
like,
I need everybody
Dallas,
to go kaput.
In all seriousness, though, Dallas is right now, like if the playoffs started right now, you can make a decent argument. They would be the second favorite. Like Niners probably be the favorite, and I think they'd be the second favorite. Maybe you got the Chiefs as the number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. I mean, the AFC is so weird that I don't even know what to make of it right now. But like,
I think honestly, like, I can't take the Eagles seriously to win 3 games in a row, assuming they don't get the bye. I think they will probably finish with I think the Niners win out, and I think the Eagles lose 2 games, and then the Niners have the tiebreaker. That's how I think it honestly plays out. But if they weren't to have the bye, I can't see them winning 3 games in a row. I don't know.
And we
Their secondary is too bad.
What about Baltimore?
I'm not. I love what they've done around Lamar. Like I think they've done a really good job. I'm not gonna lie. Like I like Lamar. Like I think he's a really good quarterback. I still feel like when I watch them, I don't fully trust him in a playoff setting. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. And I'll be honest, because I don't feel any like personal Like, I don't hate the Ravens. You know what I mean? Like, they're fine to me, even though they're a conference team with the Bills. Like, I like them. And I loved Lamar in college. I loved him. I wanted the Bills to draft him. So, like, it's been cool to watch him. But, like, I don't know. I still don't fully trust him in a playoff setting. And I don't know. That's just what I do think losing Mark Andrews is a big deal. That's a really big deal for them. So yeah, like that. I don't know. I still think that when odds makers are going to put them at what, like maybe, I think they would have the Chiefs have better odds. I think Dallas has better odds and the Eagles have better odds. I think you might, like, if the Bills manage to, backdoor their way into the playoffs, I think the Bills might have better odds than them. I think that's possible. Like, I think there's a world where, like, a lot of teams, I mean, shit, whatever. But to get back to the Dallas thing specifically, though, like, this is a huge game for the Eagles, by the way. They're 10-2. They lost that game to the Niners. They lose this. Niners win, to your point, Con. Like, Niners now have home field in the NFC. So this is a huge game for Philly. This, like, this last month for them to kind of have the record they have says a lot about kind of like how, even though they're not playing at their best, how good this team really is.
But how important line play is.
Yeah.
Like, not to.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're going to do that. Let me get on my pulpit and tell you why interior linemen matter. But, like, I think that this Eagles team feels a lot to me like the Bills of last year, where you're like, yeah, they're like, the Bills were 13-3. But if you watch them every week, you're like, something is just, like, not right. Like, something is off. It doesn't feel sustained. Every game feels kind of like frenzied. And I don't know. This Eagles team's weird. I kind of like Dallas in this spot, even though I was just shitting on their record for the past 5 years, and Jeff was kind of like getting there with me. But, like, this feels like a good spot for them, right? Like, I mean, if you're ever going to, kind of like reverse the, fight off the demons and all that stuff, like, this feels like a moment for them, right? Like, I feel like they got to win this in a lot of ways.
Well, just to kind of go back to what you're saying with Baltimore, I think getting the bye for them is more important than any team in the league, because if they get the bye, I think Andrews is likely to be back for the next week. So that kind of factors into my math for them. And I would agree with Jeff. I did forget them when I was bringing them up. I think I'd have them over KC. I can't be a hypocrite and say I believe in the Cowboys, but I don't believe in the Ravens. Like, I think both teams have played well enough to where, okay, Dallas hasn't beat a team that's great, but they came a yard away from beating the Eagles in Philly. So
that game was so dumb. It's so stupid they lost that game, by the way.
Yeah, and I thought they controlled that game, honestly. Yeah. And they smacked the Seahawks. So I think Dallas is legit this year, as much as I want to put a shotgun in my mouth now. So
this is like when I imagine you feel talking about Dallas how I feel and Jeff feels every time we have to listen to Collinsworth do a Chiefs game.
Oh my God!
Oh, this Mahomes. Let me tell you,
he brings them up even when they're not playing. It's, oh my God, it's unbelievable.
I don't like to do this, but doesn't this guy look like Patrick a little bit back? Who does he remind you of? But you see the sidearm action, like that fucking Jets Chiefs game he did. Was like, I'm like, dude, can we fucking relax? This, like, he was like dying so hard to be like, who does Zach Wilson look like here? He's throwing the no-look pass, man. This is crazy. I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, are you kidding me right now? Jesus Christ, he's the worst. I hate Collinsworth, man. I can't even watch those games. I just mute. Like, I had to like put it on mute at the time and throw on music. It's just brutal. I'm like,
it's a weird thing, because I agree with everything you're saying about Collinsworth, but like I feel like when this generation of announcers across all sports is gone, I'm going to be like that grumpy old man that's like, oh, I'm so nostalgic for like Joe Buck and like, I genuinely, I don't like, I'm already seeing this new influx of announcers fucking like Ian Eagles kid, Noah Eagle. I'm like, dude, like get the fuck out of here. I'm just like, I don't, they have no charisma at all.
Wally Zerbiak.
Oh my God.
It's just awful.
Oh, you know when I played in the NBA, Lolly, nobody cares about when you played, man.
And by the way, speaking of Buck specifically, I feel like all the hate he gets is for stuff he did like 20 years ago. I actually think he's gotten a lot better.
He's a lot better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because that Giant Super Bowl one is still like how he made the helmet
Stays
catch
on his feet.
Yeah, it's like he made the helmet catch sound like just a fucking like casual screen pass you're throwing or something. But yeah, no, he's definitely gotten a lot better. And I actually think Aikman has gotten a lot more. He just lets it rip now sometimes.
Yeah,
like he's just like out there.
But he's so much better.
Yeah, he's a lot better. He's way better now. And you're like, I mean,
it's possible that like them moving from Fox to ESPN, like they're more laid back now. It's a different atmosphere. They don't even wear suits anymore. They're always wearing their quarter zips and shit. Like I just feel like for whatever reason, the move from Sunday afternoon to Monday night has really helped them.
Yeah, it's been good. They're a lot better now. And like, I mean, look, maybe just escaping the clutches of Rupert Murdoch was enough for them. But like, yeah, I think to your point, like there is something to just like, you shit on these guys, but it's almost like you shit on them because you just listen to them or something. But no, Collinsworth actually sucks. Like Collinsworth is actually the worst announcer. And if they replace him with like Gus Johnson, which I know that's not how it works, but like get Gus Johnson on Sunday Night Football. Can we do that?
That would be.
Can Amazon get him instead of fucking Al Michaels, who does not give a shit anymore?
Oh my God. Al Michaels is so washed. He is. I mean, look, Clyde is a bit senile.
Yeah, but Clyde's funny. Clyde's funny.
Exactly. Clyde, he doesn't have a clue what he's saying anymore. But sometimes I'll be drinking water and I'll hear him say some shit, and then I'll just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Marv
God.
Albert's last couple of seasons in the NBA, he had this recurring bit that me and my friend loved where he would say, James for 3. Oh, now they're saying he had a foot on the line, and it was like 7 feet inside the arc. It wasn't even Al Michaels has reached that Marv Albert stage. He has no idea what's going on out there. Like
Breen is starting to do this stuff too, by the way. If you notice this, Breen never like there's like at least 3 times in a game where Breen has no idea what's happening. He'll be like, oh, it looks like they're calling a foul here. And I'm like, they're clearly signaling like a fucking travel? Like, what are you talking about? But no, look, Clyde's funny, and Al Michaels is just like, I'm like, dude, you're so miserable doing this. You're just doing this for the money at this point. And him and Herbstreit, like, these guys have been working together now for what, 2? This is their second season together, and it's like they've got no chemistry, like none at all. They say they seem miserable playing off each other, and it's so funny because say whatever you want about Kirk Herbstreit's opinion about the college football playoff, but like. Him and Fowler are awesome together. Like they have great chemistry, and you can like feel that when they do games together. So it's like when you hear that on Saturdays and you listen to him on Thursdays with Michaels, you're just like, dude, what even is this? Like, please get Al Michaels out of there. Put Gus Johnson in. Gus will make it all happen. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I think Herbstreit is like, dude. Herbstreit is like the Knicks, and Al Michaels is Randall. Like.
Wow.
Like I think he has legitimate stuff to say sometimes. And then who was it that was in the bubble? And as he was doing the broadcast, he just kept like smacking his teeth. Was that Marv Albert?
Wait, what was it?
I don't want to make the sound like over here, but somebody in the bubble just kept like kind of licking their lips into the mic. And the broadcast picked it up. I think it was Marv Albert, and that's when they told him, like, dude, you got to get off the air.
I don't know, but the best thing about the bubble was what, like, everybody realized that Chris Webber was the worst announcer in the history of sports because he's just like saying absolute nonsense. You're just like, wait,
the one that's a meme when LeBron hits the 40-footer is like the funniest thing ever. Like that's, I could watch that forever. Like that is just so. I mean, he talks about like, oh,
he's talking
man,
about like BLM and like, but there's like no connection. Like you're just like, wait. He's like, that's why you stood up. I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about here?
It just says he's trying to like connect it to LeBron's 35-foot three. Like LeBron hits like a logo three, and he's like, and that's why being black. Like it was very, very. It was just like
it was just weird. Like you're just like listening, and you're like, what did that have to do with anything? Actually, like what?
It was wild. Obviously, nothing will ever beat Mark Jackson saying he'd knock
it out the park.
LeBron's wife out of the park. Like that's oh my god. That's good for
bro.
Yeah, with all due respect. God. So amazing.
The Hawkeye 420. The Kings announcers who I despise these days. Also Spiro something man sounds like he's choking on air.
Spiro Ditas.
Hawkeye, that's Mark Hawkeye, that's Mark Jones.
He's awesome.
The only thing worse than Mark Jones with what's her name? What's the Kings?
Doris or it's
Sarah whoever the Kings main color commentator is. They're bad and they're huge homers. Get Mark Jones and Doris Burke and have them call a Knicks game on national TV. It's worse. It's oh my god. You got him talking about his Gucci bag, and then you got her, the Knicks fan, spending the whole game being like, I don't want to be unbiased, but for the 1,000th straight time, this call should go against the Knicks. I don't see a foul. I don't, like I'm just.
They did the game 1 against Miami last year, and I remember at the end of this game, Mark Jones had this huge like speech about like this is a victory for Heat culture. I'm like, are you fucking serious right now? Get the fuck out of here.
He was very big on like the anti-Jokic train, like which has aged. Like, although I don't know, Jokic might be cooked. Two games of mediocrity. It might be over.
That was the Rockets' first road win of the season. You know that?
I did not know that. I mean, dude, Ime's got him playing defense. He's good.
I'm telling you, Ime just went in there and was like, "Listen, if you guys don't do this, I'm literally gonna steal your girl." So it's up to you. Wait, so did we?
That didn't work for Derek Fisher, but it's working for Ime.
I mean, we never like. So that Cowboys one that's 3.5. That doesn't feel like a field goal. I think the Cowboys cover this. I don't know. Maybe isn't Hurts hurt also?
Yeah. He's dinged up. He's not. I wouldn't call him hurt.
He's gonna play. Yeah, he's gonna play. Yeah. But I mean, he didn't look great at the end of that Niners game.
He hasn't looked great this season. So,
he's the MVP, second favorite, dude. They're 10-2. You got to give it to him.
The MVP race.
Yeah, the Hurts MVP stuff was
Jalen Hurts.
Oh my god, if Purdy wins MVP.
Nobody on his team thinks he's the MVP.
Yeah.
No.
No. I don't get why people aren't talking about Tyreek Hill in MVP discussions.
Thank you. Tyreek Hill should be the MVP as far as I'm concerned. He's been
Tyreek Hill is I had a tweet where I was like, Tyreek Hill is the MVP. And then Tua for MVP season replied to me, and he was like, you don't know shit about football. And I was like, fuck off, man.
Well, wait, Con. Did you say, I think Tyreek Hill is MVP, or did you say, I think Tyreek Hill is MVP because he's working with the worst quarterback in NFL history? We need to know the full context.
Look, Con is right sometimes.
I will look this up. I will word search Tyreek Hill right now.
So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I was just laughing earlier because I saw some Dolphins fan post a video of Drew Brees breaking down Tua film, and he was basically just like Drew Brees was just like gushing over Tua's arm talent and stuff, and I was like, man, how good would a video of Khan angrily watching this video do? Like just Khan stewing as somebody praises Tua.
We didn't talk. There's 3 games we haven't even talked about at all that I think we should touch on before we get out of here. Colts, Bengals. Bengals are 1.5 point favorites at home. Jaguars are 3-point dogs at Cleveland, and Seahawks 13.5 point dogs at the Niners. The Niners have owned them recently, but it's weird. Like I don't know. I think this is like that. There's that weird thing in that division, right, where it's like Shanahan owns McVay owns Carroll, And then historically, I think Carroll has owned Shanahan, but I think in the last couple of matchups, Shanahan's gotten the better of him. So I don't know. That Seahawks team is just so weird. I never know what to expect of them half the time. But I like the Colts money line against the Bengals. Like, I know the Bengals played really well last week in Jacksonville, but that also felt a little like they didn't know what the hell Browning could do. And also Browning played really fucking well, which maybe he's really good. I would tend to bet against that. I think the Colts are really well coached. So I don't know.
Yeah, I like the Colts side. I like the Browns side. Lawrence might not even play.
I don't think he's
and Peterson's a good coach. I like Stefanski in the Stefanski-Peterson matchup with backups.
Oh yeah, and I like Steichen versus Zach Taylor, by the way.
Right, for sure. And I think Taylor's a fine coach. I think that the Browns defense is better than this Jaguars defense. I feel like this Jaguars defense is kind of, I don't want to say tricked people, but they've been really good in fantasy. So I think people think they're a lot better than they are in real life. I think the Browns will be fine moving the ball. Flacco played fine last week. I think this line should be bigger. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I think that Browns line honestly might be my favorite one of the week.
I just don't love I don't love ever taking he is a fourth string quarterback, but he's backup quarterback, right? I just don't love taking a backup quarterback as a favorite. I don't know. Why not take the under? Why not take the under 33.5?
I hate taking a number that low. The under on the number that low. Also, I just hate taking unders because it's boring. You're betting against scoring. No, I don't want to see points in this game. It's fucking horrible. No, I don't know. I just think, look, I know Josh Allen is having a really nice pass rushing season. Aside from him, though, they're getting basically nothing on that defensive line in terms of pass rush. And to Jeff's point, I think Stefanski's a good coach. I think he'll be able to scheme stuff. I know Jacksonville's defense has been a lot better this year. But I think they're going to need to, especially if Lawrence isn't playing, you're asking a lot of them. You're asking a lot of this defense in this game.
Yeah.
I'm not a big CJ Beathard guy. I don't know if you guys are
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not a huge CJ Beathard guy. I guess me and Kyle Shanahan
was he the quarterback on the team that lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten championship? Was that Beathard?
Iowa, right?
When Iowa was undefeated and LJ Scott had the touchdown at the buzzer, basically.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. That was really a memory that I wanted to have. Thank you.
Hey, Bama just absolutely clocked Michigan State in the Final Four. If that makes you feel better.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to see an Elijah Moore touchdown, honestly, man. Just so I could victory lap on Jets fans.
He deserves it. He's been good this year. He's very, very firmly their number 2 option, and he's been kind of a safety net for anybody who's been quarterback for them. He's clearly super talented, and I think the Browns definitely got the better end of that deal.
Yeah, actually, I think -3 is pretty good for the Browns because I know Tyson Campbell is out too for the corner for the Jags. So
and he's good.
Yeah, he did get mossed by Jamar Chase last week, but
it's Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, yeah. For this might be the most ridiculous thing I've said on here, which is hard because I've said a lot of ridiculous things. But I think I would take the Niners -13.5, man.
Yeah,
I don't know how the Seahawks score points. Honestly,
that first game was a total mismatch. That was a joke. That was a Thanksgiving game, right?
Yeah, and now they're not going to have Geno, and they're going to be in San Fran. The only way that they don't get outscored by 14 is if, I don't know, Shanahan, for some reason, does Shanahan stuff. Yeah, does math, does LSD, does something.
Also, they have the MVP, MVP candidate under center here, so you got to get the edge to San Francisco.
Where are you seeing that Geno Smith? He's definitely out, Con?
I think he's pretty confidently He's like a 65-35 shot, and he's probably out.
They just elevated Sean Mannion from the practice squad, which usually signals that the starter's not going to play.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I think, man, I like a lot of the lines this week. I didn't think I would, but after talking about it,
I like that
really,
Niners line. I like that Browns line.
Yeah.
I like the Colts money line. I don't know.
I would also, for that Eagles-Cowboys game, I would either take Cowboys against the spread, or I would take Eagles money line. I think in this game, probably the value is Eagles money line, but the one I'm more confident is Cowboys against the spread, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hope the Titans win, because my future bet for them is not looking great.
Khan's AFC team, the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, the Titans. Dude, if the Titans shut down Tua, you're not going to hear the end of it, Jeff.
Oh man, it's a rough one for you though, because they funnel to the pass. So like, Tyreek Hill might have like 250 yards receiving.
Well, you want to know how much of a 200 IQ fantasy player I am? In my $500 buy-in league, where I need a win to punch a playoff spot, I have Tua as my starter this week.
What do you mean? What do you mean this week?
He's my starter this week, because usually I have Trevor Lawrence.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
Why would you ever start Trevor Lawrence over Tua?
Oh, I like Miami minus 13.5. I like that at home against.
I feel like you're joking here, Con. Right?
No, I play. Dude,
you've been actively starting Trevor Lawrence over Tua this season.
I've been going back and forth, but last week,
Trevor killed it for me last week. Thanks, Jeff.
my boy was like, "Bro, play Tua," and I was like, "Trevor's gonna get it done, bro. Don't worry." I was down by 5. The QB sneak gets me a 1-point advantage. Next play, he goes out of the game with the ankle sprain. I took it home by a point. Trevor got it done.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So I hope you get better soon, Trev.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about. I'd like that Dolphins line at home against Tennessee minus 13.5. Yeah, I'll take that.
I am not going to get hurt by Tennessee again, but I'm also not going to say that I like them.
I think they're done this season. I feel like they're but pack it in here.
That was a really, really tough loss for them last week. Like, if they had won that game in overtime, I would, and this line was similar, because Vrabel's just, McDaniel's awesome, but Vrabel's just one of those guys who gets teams to overachieve. I could have seen, I'm not going to say I could see Tennessee beating Miami, but I could have seen Tennessee competing with Miami if they were coming off a big overtime win coming off that loss 4-8. I don't love it. I agree with Schwinn.
It also just feels like a moment where, like, if you're in the organization, you're probably looking around and you're like, so we may as well just suck the rest of the year, right?
Right. Yeah. Plus, who knows what tension is going to boil over from Levis going at DeAndre Hopkins.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
My dad was like, "Yeah, Will Levis, pretty big guy. He bitched DeAndre Hopkins," and I was like, "Dad, you're just saying that because Will Levis is white and."
Oh no.
And
on that note,
I think now we've touched on everything. Oh man. All right. Like I said, I'm not gonna speak on the Titans because they've crushed me. But
what's everybody's favorite bet for this week before we get out of here?
All right. Just because I didn't offer a lot of just talk on this, I think the Packers are gonna beat us like pretty handily, and it's not because I'm rooting for it. I think it's just they've been playing great. I kind of am buying what Jordan Love has been putting out there, and I think they're the type of offense that will really punish us for being too aggressive if that's how Wink kind of pans out in the game plan. So, I think they're gonna beat us. Just general statement, just Giants talk. And then I really, really like Jets money line plus 160. I think they need a win, and I think they're going to get up for this game. I think it's going to be a real easy game plan to just have Sauce follow Nico Collins, or not follow, but Sauce to have him on Nico as much as possible. And yeah, that's my number one play probably.
Sorry, Schwinn. I hope for your sake I'm wrong, but my favorite line is the Chiefs. I just don't think the Bills should be considered better than the Chiefs on a neutral field, even after the Chiefs' poor performance last season or last week, and Buffalo coming off a bye and a strong performance against Philadelphia. I think Kansas City is just going to bounce back and win this game. I don't think they're going to win by 1, so I would feel very comfortable taking Chiefs minus 1.5.
Well, if you want to lose money, make sure you follow Jeff there. No, yeah, I think the line I really like is honestly that Niners one. I think the Niners one's I'm taking that. So 13.5 Niners. Yeah, I think this is like you mentioned, in Mannion's guy, the Seahawks defense has been a fucking disaster most of the season. Jamal Adams is playing, so that's a huge advantage for the Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one for me. I'd be shocked if they don't win that game. That feels like that could get that feels like a game that could get embarrassing, actually. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then if I had to pick just 2 more that I like, Browns -3,
Yes.
and then Bucks +1. I actually do like that a lot. So
Bucks are 2.5 actually.
Did it? I don't know.
I think it's one on Bet Online.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
on
staying.
FanDuel. Get on FanDuel.
Go over to FanDuel.
Yeah, if you want to take the Bucks, I mean,
I was staying true to the badge, Schwinn.
Yeah,
I was staying true to the badge.
Staying true to a book that I prefer personally.
Oh no.
But thanks to our sponsor.
It's gonna be like, dude, there's this amazing Bill Burr clip where he reads an ad for Sherry's Berries and you just can't stop laughing at it. Like he's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And he's like trying to read it, but he can't stop laughing. It's if you're ever bored, just search on YouTube Bill Burr Sherry's Berries and you'll fucking laugh hysterically. It's so funny. You just can't stop laughing.
I'm a big Shane Gillis guy. I love Shane Gillis.
Shane's the man. Yeah, he's great.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope it's a fruitful day tomorrow. I hope that Patrick Mahomes loses to Schwinn again in the regular season. And thanks for hopping on with us or watching us. And thank you to Schwinn for coming on. Thank you for Jeff for co-hosting with me as always. And we'll see you on the next one.